everyone, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Andover, Minnesota in the US, and today I'd like to share with you some outside-the-box ideas that I created with the contents of the August 2020 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! Titled World's Greatest. These monthly kits come straight to my mailbox each month and contain everything I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This month's kit contains supplies for making 9 4¼ by 5½ inch cards. I also received 2 items that I can use over and over again even after these consumables from the kit are used up. A Pacific Point mini ink pad and this exclusive photopolymer stamp set. The kit also included in this publication directions, tips, photos, details about the kit, and a link to a how-to video to help guide me in assembling. A clear block, which was included free with my first kit for mounting and using my stamps, and my scissors are the only extra supplies that I really need to provide. Paper Pumpkin kits are just $22 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included, you control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. These kits are produced through Stampin' Up! So the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these as I share my alternate projects. You can find the items listed below and linked to my online store. You can also look below for links to learning more about Paper Pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects I'm going to do today. I'm excited to create alternate projects with this kit, so let's get started. Before we start, I just want to point out that your kit, even though it comes with its own little ink pad and adhesives, and of course your first kit ever comes with a block, I'll be substituting these items because of ease and quickness. It's just gonna make the video go a little bit faster if I have the larger ink pad, some seal adhesive, and then a variety of different blocks that are ergonomic and very comfortable in my hands. All right, let's start. The first thing that I do when I open up my kits to create alternate projects is I take the pieces and I look at them upside down, I look at them on the flip side, and I just kind of imagine like the silhouette of them. What does it look like? Like this here can look like a clown with a hat on it, big ears. Here's the bottom part of the head and the shoulders. Maybe an elf, you know, if that's the hat. Elves have larger ears, so Christmas elf, I don't know. So, you know, you just kind of, you have to play around with your thoughts in your head. And this image, to me, looked like the frosting on the bottom layer of a cake, you know, the part that goes around the cake. So I thought if I could build up some circles on top, I could have an aerial view of a cake. So I put that on one of my blocks so I could stamp it. And I'm going to stamp it on this large circle, which comes in the kit. I'm also going to die cut a circle from this piece here. You could use a punch that's slightly smaller than this circle. I just wanted a circle that was a little bit smaller. And then, of course, this would layer next, and I'd have this on top with some kind of message as if it's written in frosting. So let's go ahead and pull out our ink. And I'm going to grab just a bit of scrap paper so I can do what's called stamping off or second generation ink. I don't want that full color of Pacific Point blue on there. I kind of want it a little bit lighter. So I'm going to stamp onto my scrap, and then I'm going to come in here, and you can see so easily when that circle is against a dark background like my table, and I can center it very well this way. And there's my light blue frosting. Yummy. If it gets too dark, it's just too much food coloring. And then you have a blue mouth, right? So die cutting can be an expensive investment if you're a beginning crafter, but we have a new machine coming out. It's going to debut September 1st. It is exclusive to Stampin' Up! It's our new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And it's, you know, like a lot of other die cutting and embossing machines, it does fold up, and it allows you to die cut and emboss just some really great features on it too. It's beautiful, it's easy to hold, very ergonomic. The plates are numbered. Oops, right there. They're numbered, so, and they have directions on them, so you can easily put together your layers and die cut and emboss. So if this is something that you're thinking of investing in, this would be a great machine to get. I'm loving it. So these are die cut pieces, little dies, and they work with a machine like this. I'm going to use the layering circle dies. This is what you get in the layering circles. I'm using the third to the smallest scallop circle in this set, and I'm making sure my platforms are correct. So I've got my number 1, number 2 goes on top, and then I'm putting a cutting mat down, and this is normally layered numbered 3, but I'm using one of my older cutting mats from my Sizzix machine. And then I'm going to put my paper down and my die on top of it. And my second number 3 is going to go right on top of that, and we're going to crank it through. And that's die cutting 101. It's super easy, and now I have this beautiful circle, scallop circle. So let's bring in those pieces again, and we're going to start layering everything up. So I'm going to grab my dimensionals. This is pretty cool. You get a frame in this kit, and then you have like a sheet of dimensionals within the frame. We're going to grab 3 of these, and we're going to center that in here. This piece is going to go directly on with some adhesive. This is our new seal adhesive. So that's going to go right here. And then this piece is going to go on top of that. I've already stamped it. It says World's Greatest Teacher. It's that time of year where the kids are going back to school. Teachers are going back to school. So we're going to pretend like this is an aerial view of a beautiful white decorated cake. Let's next take our branch that came in the kit, and we're going to cut into this. And now we have 2 branch pieces. I'm going to bring in a new product. This is called our Forever Greenery Specialty Designer Paper. It's gold. It's more like a foil. It's not really a paper. And you actually get a few sheets of these, and then a few sheets that are like layers. We're going to grab a couple leaves from this, and I probably only need a couple, but I brought in 3 different kinds. I think next I'm going to cut my cake, and I should have done this before I put the layers together, but I think we'll be able to cut through the dimensionals pretty well. So I think if I come in straight to the side and go towards the middle, we don't want to take away too much from what is written on our cake, on the top of our cake, but we do want to slice a cake out of there. So there's our slice of cake. We've got our branches. In fact, you know what? Let's just cut this one in half. There. Now we easily have 2 extra branches. We can layer these, maybe like that. So after placing all of my branches where I think that they're going to go, I put adhesive on the back side of this, and I'm just going to stick this down where I want it to be in the center, and it's going to kind of grab those branches. And then I can make sure that they're all on there by adding just a little bit more adhesive over the top sections of them without destroying them. Don't destroy them. And then we'll just center this right down in the middle. We can work on the inside of the card. The inside needs to have that other slice of cake, although it would be cute if you had it kind of pulled out like that. I might have to do that. I like that look, where it's kind of coming out. But let's see. So on the inside, what I was imagining was the stamp that says "You deserve a medal." I'm just going to ink up the words "You deserve," and then I'm going to handwrite in there "a cake." So we can take our ink pad, and you can just ink up the top portion. And then you can write "a cake," "you deserve lots of food," lots of dessert, you know, whatever you want to write in there. But that can be your own writing, and you could put the little slice of cake underneath it. Yeah, I think it's cuter on the inside. that was my original plan. Now I have another version of this card. I want to show you that next. So for the second version of the card, I used the white card base. I kept the cake somewhat together because I cut a bigger slice in here and it kind of impeded on the words that were there, so I thought, well, we might as well puzzle piece it together a little bit. I've also added some pearls along here as if they were little, I don't know, cake decoration pieces, some frosting or something. Some more of the gold foil specialty, the Forever Greenery gold foil specialty paper. And then I kept the branches big on these because I wanted them to reach down further since we have a plain background. I thought it needed a little bit more. This layer here is my own piece of vellum that I pulled out of my stash. We do sell that also in the online store, so if you need some vellum. And so you can see the difference between the two cake cards. I did end up putting a generous slice of cake underneath those other words, just with a blue marker that I had. And then on this one, I have a pearl set in the center of the O on the word celebration. So I hope you enjoyed those. I have some more ideas for you. First, let me tell you that my subscribers were spoiled this month. I gifted them, I randomly gift them every once in a while, and I gifted them some products. So they got a quarter sheet of just jade cardstock, some matching ribbon, a little piece from the Forever Greenery gold foil sheet, some vellum. And by the way, you could punch into this vellum. So if you have like a leaf, I don't know, leaf dies or a leaf punch or something, you could create extra ones from this sheet of vellum. I love the watercolor wash layers. These are just gorgeous. So if you feel like you can spare this piece in this card and just rotate that metal and just kind of use it this way vertically on your card, you know, just eliminate that piece. Then you have an extra watercolor wash layer that you can use with just some Whisper White cardstocks. You can just take, or you know, any color cardstock really. You can grab the Whisper White, we could grab the basic black, and I'm adding in the gold foil layer. You can see that there. It might look really nice on this black. I might have to do the black. Anyways, I'm making a sunshine. All I did was I cut this in half. So here again is that sheet from the foils, and here's that piece. I just cut it in half and it became this radiant, vibrant sun. So I've stuck down my layer and I'm going to stamp the words "You're the best." This is our black ink, our Tuxedo Black Memento ink. So I've got that stamped down there, and then what I did is I put dimensionals on the back side of this and I slathered it with dimensionals. You can see I've got 5 on there. This is a flimsier type of paper. It's not as stiff as our regular foil. It's not as stiff as our cardstock. It's more like a designer paper thinness. So I wanted to make sure that it was covered. And then the inside, of course, needs a little bit of a layer. Look at that. Is that pretty? I just love it. So the inside needs a layer of white. So we're going to go ahead and grab our trimmer. And first I'm going to cut another card base because we're going to do just another quick simple card using the other watercolor wash piece. So I've cut my cardstock in half, and half of 8.5 is 4 1/4, so that's where I placed my paper. I'm going to rotate it this way, and I'm going to use the scoring blade, which is the light gray one, and I'm just going to crease it at the halfway point between, for 11 inches, that would be 5.5 inches. So now I've got my card base ready to go. You can use your fingernail to make sure that that crease is nice and sharp, or you can grab a bone folder and do that. Now we need a layer for the inside here, and you can see that would make it completely the same width. We want to make it a little bit smaller. So we're going to cut that piece down to 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches. So it's just 1/4 inch in each direction, a little bit smaller. We can grab our seal adhesive and add a layer in here that we can write on later on. So there is our finished card. Let's make another one with this green layer. Now, when we have these branch pieces from the kit, they're made out of vellum. You can use either side. because it's white vellum. Now if this was a colored vellum, you might have a side that's more dominantly colored than the other side, but with our white vellum, we are good to go. So I trimmed another one in half, and because it pieces together like this, but I want another branch to go in the opposite direction, I can flip one over. And we can just add that down here at the bottom. And I kind of like the branches coming off the edges here like that. I think it will also stand out a little bit if we can add some gold branches behind it. And then let's grab a little bit of this ribbon. We can just take and make 2 little rabbit ears. This is one of the easiest bows you can make. So you do 2 rabbit ears, make sure that there's no twisting in the ribbon. You put one on top of the other, like that. Then you just tuck that one into that hole down here. And it will tie into a bow real quick and easy. You can adjust the legs on the bow, and that can go down here and kind of hide the stems a bit. And then we can stamp up here, and I think I'm going to stamp in the middle of a circle. I think I'm going to use just jade. And if you stamp it before you add it to your card, then you don't have to worry about it being crooked. You can, straighten it out as you layer it onto your card. And then I've just put a couple glue dots on the back side of all of these pieces and the back side of my ribbon. And I've got a fun little bunched bunch of foliage down there. We'll grab our card base. We're going to add this with dimensionals. And there is our second watercolor wash card. The next card that I'm going to share with you is a fun fold card called a slider window card. And so for this card, you're going to need the frame piece, you're going to need the white card base, you're going to need the watercolor wash center, which actually fits perfectly inside here, and that's going to be important. We're going to have a little decoration piece for the top part of our card, and we're making a card for a coach. So we're going to first take and slice this in half. Half of 8 1/2 is 4 1/4. You can slice right on that score line if you'd like to follow the line. And then this piece is going to be slightly smaller. Now, we're going to take this and layer it onto a half sheet, right? And to do that, we also need to have some adhesive around the edges. That adhesive that we're going to use is about 1/4 inch wide. It's our tear and tape adhesive. And so if we account for 1/4 inch in on each side, that would bring this down to 3 3¾ inches. And this piece is 3 inches from here to here. And we don't want to be exactly right up to our adhesive with this other piece that we're going to slice here. So between 3 and 3 3/4 is about 3 3/8. I think I'm going to go to 3 1/2 for this. So we're going to cut this 3 1/2 inches wide, so it's just slightly larger. And then we want it to be able to slide all the way, because it's going to slide in here, right? A slider window card. So this is going to slide up and down behind the frame, and we want it to be able to come completely down and flush with the top of the card, which means we also need to cut off a bit down here. So if I cut off like 3/8 of an inch on either side here, let's go ahead and do the same thing to the bottom of this. So 3/8 of an inch should do it. One other thing we need to do to our frame piece before we tack it down onto our card base and hide that little slider piece that's going to come in and out is we need to make a little notch in there. And I actually think it's going to be easiest if we make a notch in both the back layer and this frame layer. So we're going to stack them together. We're going to take our punch, and you can use any circle punch, and you're just going to come in and you're going to make a little bit of a notch. And we're trying to center it also, so I'm looking on each side of my punch to see if it looks centered. Now if you already have these circle dies, This one would be a great one to use for that. It would make a nice little deep notch. Next, we're going to layer this here. That's going to be sliding in and out of the card, and we're going to be able to grab it because if you look at the way this mechanism is set up, we have a notch on that side and on that side. So we'll be able to pull this as long as it's not stuck down against our adhesive that we're going to put the frame onto with, okay? Okay, so you want to come around as close as you can to all four sides of this, or all three sides, sorry, of this card. And I think I'm just going to take the bottom, the release paper from the bottom piece off first, because then I don't have to worry about everything sticking down at once. I can make sure that this is all lined up. It's already sticking. And then this can be stuck down, okay? So now that I know that that's all set up and ready to go, I can then come in and peel off all the other release paper pieces. I can already see that I'm going to have an issue with it trying to get back down into this crevice area, and that's actually, it's not going to bug me if it doesn't. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. I really only need it to come to this top part here. So I'm going to go ahead and slice off that remaining part. All right, this piece is going to go in here like this, and it's actually going to attach to the top part of the card, and it's going to bend up and reveal some images here. So we're going to actually stamp this piece and the top of the metal inside this window. I forgot. When this piece slides up, it's actually going to be attached to this. This is where we're going to stamp. We only get one shot now. It's all stamped down. All right, this is going to go down here. I'm using the Bumblebee ink now because it matches. It's kind of got that golden look to it. And then the other one is this image. And so we're going to have to slide this all the way up here. And that's going to go there. And what else do we have? We have the words that are going to go inside. And this brown looked a lot like the soft suede to me. So I'm going to stamp "You're the Best" inside here. And then on this piece, we're going to stamp number 1 on the trophy. And we're going to stamp Coach below that. Okay, so now we need to attach this piece here. So it's going to have some score marks in it because part of it is going to actually be attached to the white. When we pull the white, it's going to be stuck down onto the bottom portion of the white, and it's going to slide up like this. It's going to fold. So we need a fold mark here, and we need a fold mark in there that's halfway between this score line and the top. Let's measure this piece. It is 4 3/8 inches, so let's do this. This will be easy. Let's score at 3/8 of an inch, which would be perfect for the width of the tear and tape adhesive, which is 1/4 of an inch. That will fit on here just so. And then half of 4 is 2 inches, correct? So we will score it here at 2 inches. So this is again where it's going to attach, and then it's going to attach here with some tape. And that'll be fun to get on there because actually I think I was going to put it on there before I put this together, but we'll see what we can do. Okay, so let's take our tear and tape adhesive and run that along here. So that's ready to attach. I just want to fit everything in here. So that's going to go here, and then this is going to get attached to the frame. Okay, so we want to stick that on here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this packaging tape, and I stopped the camera because I realized I had to have a piece that was pretty much as wide as that gap because we want it to hold on to this paper as much as it can. Normally when you make these cards, you don't cut here. You actually have a full piece of 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch paper, and you just slice, 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 and you leave that attached and scored. But that's not the way this kit came. So I'm going to flip it over. I've already kind of separated out the layers here, and I'm just going to insert this into that spot. I should have attached the tape before I put this down. That's pretty good though. Look at that. See? That goes all the way, almost all the way across. There's about 1/8 of an inch that isn't covered there. And then we can add more adhesive in those corners. But now what I would do is I would take and put this lined up down here. It's not attached yet. It's right. The backing is not off the tape. But we just want to make sure that this is inside the window. Actually, it might be more important if we attach it up here first. Okay. There we go. Then we can come in and we can trim all this. There we go. All right, that's done. Yeah, add the tape before you stick the frame on your paper. Okay, so this piece is ready because it's attached. So then we're going to slide this in. And as that pulls out, you can see what's happening here. It's coming together, you guys. All right, and then this is going to go on the front. And you can see if we put it on the front, it can't be, you know, it has to be just in this middle panel here. We can put that on with dimensionals because that'll make it pop up a little bit. So let's grab our dimensionals. And don't forget to poke out the little negative space in there. And then you can write the word pull up here, and then you'll notice that you have a space, because before you didn't really have a space, right? Because it was really a filled up card. You didn't really have a space to write anything. But up here is where you could write a personal message to your coach. It's almost done. We're going to add some stars now. For the stars, you get a whole bag of them, and they're made for the shaker, so they're not self-adhesive stars. But we have this wonderful glue called fine tip glue, and it comes out in tiny amounts because there's like kind of a little needle point applicator here. So you're just going to figure out where you want your stars to be, and you start gluing down little dots. Okay, my card is completed except for, you know, my personal message that I want to write on the inside. I wanted to point out a couple things that you may have noticed. I was squeezing my glue out onto the silicone sheet here before I would put the little tiny dots onto my card, because at one point I got a bubble. When you first go from upright to this direction, you get some air trapped in there, so it's good to kind of squeeze it a little bit to get it started, and then go directly onto your card with the glue. And it'll dry on here, and then you can just peel it off. There's also a cap that has a little needle inside, and you just kind of have to feel it. I always put my finger up against it so I can feel it going into the part that's going to receive the needle. So that's how you close up your glue. I brought in my Take Your Pick tool because, of course, it's perfect for adding those little stars. It's got this little gummy end here, and you just pick them up and stick them down. It also has a little pointy end, which would have helped when I was working with my glue dots or other little tiny things. So I'm going to keep that next to me. And then I grabbed a soft suede marker. Now you could just grab any light brown marker, and you can write the word pull up there if you'd like to do that. So there is that finished card. Perfect card, a nice masculine card for a coach. Yeah, I'm excited about that one. Okay, let's do another fun fold. So this next card is called a pop-up cube card, or a pop-open cube card. You're going to need a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 that you're going to cut down. You're going to cut it down to 8 inches. So I've extended the arm on my trimmer. I brought it to the 8-inch mark. This is already 8.5 this direction, so 8 inches by 8.5. And then you're going to do some scoring. And we're going to score every 2 inches so that our score marks are going parallel to the shortest edge. So this is the 8-inch wide edge here. So 2 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, and then at 8 inches again. And you'll have a 1/2 inch at the end there, and that is going to be where we put some tear and tape adhesive. In fact, let's do that now. And then we're going to cut in this direction parallel to the long side. We're going to cut at 2 inches and at 2 inches again, and that leaves us with 4 inches here. We're going to grab our card base. Now I've already trimmed down my pieces, but we're going to grab one of the card bases, and I recommend the mint macaron, which matches the mint macaron cardstock. Sorry, I forgot to mention the color there. And then I'm also grabbing some Just Jade cardstock. This is the piece that I gifted my subscribers this month. It's just 1/4 of a sheet, but if you have a coordinating color for a layer, you could use that. It's optional. And you're going to trim those pieces down. So the Just Jade, I was able to get 6 pieces from that, and those pieces are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then I've also got 6 pieces from the card base that are just under 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. These are 1 5/8 inches. So you can see it used to be the full card. Okay, so now that we've got our pieces ready, we're going to start assembling. And for these 2 narrow strips, we're going to be making some collapsible little cubes, right? Hence the name of the card, of the fun fold. And you're just going to crease along all of those scores. They're all scoring in the same direction because we want them to make a cube. You're going to do that for each of these. And when you put them together, I recommend, after you've peeled off that release paper, you put them flat and you connect them this way. So let's just use our take your pick tool and remove that layer, flatten this down, and then you should be able to flatten in the other direction, and now you've got a collapsible cube. We're going to do that to this piece, and we're actually going to do it to this piece also. So now I've got all of these pieces assembled, and I'm starting to layer on the pattern paper onto the Just Jade squares. These are going to decorate the different panels of our card. So the card gets assembled like this. We're going to start with this piece upright, and these 2 pieces are actually going to turn this way instead. And they're going to be stuck against the front 2 panels of your card, like that. So now you have to figure out, okay, you've got that seam, right? I like my seam in the back, so I'm going to probably keep it back there, although, you know what, if I bring it to the front, nah, I like it in the back. And then the seam on these pieces too, you want to think about that. I think I'm going to have these go to the front though, because they'll be on the bottom and they won't be seen. Yeah, kind of arrange it where it looks best to you. I think I'm going to have my seam on this side here. So now I need some tear and tape adhesive along these 2 panels so that I can attach them to the base portion of that longer rectangular prism. So we'll grab our tear and tape adhesive. And the easiest way for me to do this is just to flatten this down, and to line everything up. Because this is the way it's going to fold inside your card. Inside your envelope, I mean. Okay? So it's going to fold like this. So now this one needs to come up against that side, so let's get some tear and tape there. All right, so that's what it's going to look like from the front. You may have seen images of this on Pinterest. It's a very popular fold right now. Where do these panels go? Well, I'm going to put one here, and one here, 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 and here. Okay, now for the design on the card, you're going to have a piece that's stuck on here that kind of pops up and out. And because this is going to go into our envelope like this, we can actually get, you know, something up higher in this spot. So I took one of those rectangles and I cut it into a square. So this piece here is 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 inches. And then the remaining part, I scored down the middle, and I'm turning it this way in my trimmer, and I'm cutting 1/2 inch strips. And they don't have to be perfect. They're not going to be seen. What we're going to do is we're going to put adhesive on both sides with the tear and tape. And yes, you can cut your tear and tape. Sometimes I find that that's faster. All right, so then we will take off the backing on one of these. And we're going to attach it up here like that. We'll take the backing off one side of another one. We'll fold it. So you can see the fold line is coming together in the middle. And that's going to hold our piece that's going to get popped out. So let's do that same thing on the inside of the card here. And I stamped the large circle from the kit in the Just Jade color that we used earlier. I also stamped World's Greatest in Just Jade, but I stamped the word friend in Pacific Point ink that comes in the kit because there are little faint lines of the blue in this pattern. So we're going to stamp You Deserve a Medal on our square piece with the blue. Now let's come in here. Peel off the backings and attach our square to the inside here. Folded these little wingies up here, so I'm going to go ahead and, now that I can reach this, I'm just going to trim off the excess white that's sticking out here. Okay, and then when I bring these back down, that will fit within, so that when the card pops up and open, it says You Deserve a Medal. Okay, this one's going to be easier to put on. So it will go in the mail like this, and then it'll fit into the envelope too. It's going to fit in there. And then when your friend opens it up, it's going to pop out like that, World's Greatest Friend. Isn't that fun? Could put a couple gold stars on here too. Maybe I'll do that. I like it better with the stars. I'm glad I added them. I just need a little gold inside. Okay, the last thing that I'm going to do is show you a page, a scrapbook page. So I started by making a little map of how I want my page layout to look, and I think I can get several 1-inch squares from the flaps of these envelopes. So I'm just going to trim right there, and we're going to line it up and trim again at the 1-inch mark. And it looks like I'm not going to get a 2-inch width out of there, but I could get a couple more. So I'm gonna keep rolling with this, and just start trimming here and cut 1-inch squares. And it looks like I can get 7, and I think I only needed 6, so I'm probably good to go. I'm going to cut the rest of the flaps that way. So then I stuck down all of those 18 squares, and I used my ruler, and I made sure that everything was kind of spaced with a 1/4 inch in between you know, and I'd measure from the top, and so if this one came down to 5 inches, this one should come down to 5 inches. If these came down to 7.5, these should come down to, so I did a lot of checking. These are on temporary adhesive, just kind of, just a little dab of adhesive. And then I'm going to lift them back up after I have my photo mats in here and just put them down more permanently. One thing that I should probably point out is on this grid paper that came from Stampin' Up, I made every square worth 1 inch. And so when I mapped this out, I made sure that I was kind of keeping that in mind. That's why I have 1 inch squares here, because that's what I had on the grid paper. And so then what I did is I came back. Do you see how the measurements are in there now for the photo mats? What I did after doing this is I double checked. I didn't want to do it when I was mapping it out on this. I wanted to make sure the measurements were correct. So you can see I want to leave a 1/4 inch border over here. So I'm starting my ruler 0, a 1/4 inch in, and I'm measuring, and a 1/4 inch before it gets to this little piece here is at 3.5 inches. So I know that this photo mat is going to be 3.5 inches wide, and then it needs to fit in this space. So I'm going to move this a 1/4 of an inch down. I'm going to make sure that I'm a 1/4 inch away from the bottom square, and from here to here I have 5.25 inches. So 3.5 by 5.25. That's how I did all the measurements. So I started in this corner, then I measured this, then I measured this section, then I measured this small section, and then I measured what I had going across here. And you can see again, if I shift this a 1/4 of an inch, it starts here, it runs all the way to 10.5, but we don't want to go all the way to the end. We want to go to here. And then we're going to have a 1/4 inch in between, because we're going to have 2 photo mats there. So I'm going to move in 1 more 1/4 inch, and that will give me a 10-inch space from here to here. So half of 10 is 5, and that's how I figured out that I'd have 2 5-inch wide pieces there. So let's go ahead and do some creative cutting with an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. We're going to trim 3.5 inches in this way. That will leave us with a 5-inch space here. So we need a 3.5 by 5-inch mat. We need another 3.5 by 5-inch mat, and these 2 are going to go at the top, if you recall. So those are going to go here. And then, according to this, we have a 3.5 by 5.25. So I think we'll get that out of this piece here. So we'll bring it to the 5.25. We're wasting very little. This is awesome. So that will go here. And then with the remaining, we can get a 4 by 4 piece out of here. So let's cut this to 4 inches. Four by 4. That will fit down here. And then we have a 3.5 by 2.25 and a 3.5 by 2 3/4. Not bad. We only have to cut into 1 more sheet just a little bit. So this is 3.5 by 2 3/4. Oh, I don't think we'll make it. Oh my gosh, we did. That's crazy funny. Okay, so if you just cut that right down, oh my gosh, I didn't even think I'd make it. Okay, so there we go. Those are our pieces. And that's where they go. Now what do we do with this little space over here? I've already stamped and layered half of one of those little ribbony things, and that's going to be like a table, a half of a table I should say. Actually, we can bring that up a little bit. And then this is going to get mounted on dimensionals. It's going to look like it's sitting on a fun little, I don't know, decorative tablecloth, circular tablecloth that's on a table. And that will sit here, and we'll make sure that the dimensionals are down lower so that when we put a photo on here, it will be able to slip underneath. So I paused the video for a minute so I could stamp on here number 1 kid, and then I wrapped one of the vellum leaves around the trophy So from the front to the back, and I added some dimensionals on here. And there's the finished layout. I can add 6 photos of my child, and I have 2 kids, so I better make 2 of these layouts. I don't want one to be jealous of the other. You know, okay, so there we go. I have to make another page. I hope you enjoyed that idea. Now that you've watched my video, I hope that you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so many more things with these super affordable kits. I hope you gained some inspiration from what I've shared. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can catch more paper pumpkin videos that I've shared using past kits and more that I'll share with future kits. Also, be sure to visit my website at stampyourartout.com so that you can view close-up photos of these projects, see photos of other paper pumpkin kit ideas in future and past posts, and see many other great ideas that I share using Stampin' Up! Products. You'll find my direct website link in my description below. If you want to get spoiled with extra goodies, gifts, prizes, and extra exclusive paper pumpkin project ideas, remember to get your subscription started with me as your demonstrator using the link below. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.